Losing weight on Mounjaro can change your body incredibly fast. But something I don't think enough people talk about is what happens when your body changes faster than your mind does. Because I genuinely believe that when the weight came off, a lot of things in my life would suddenly feel fixed. Confidence, control, happiness, comfort in myself. I thought I'd finally feel like a different person. But here's the strange part. Sometimes you can lose 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds and still find parts of yourself you thought you would disappear. But they can still be sitting there looking back at you. The emotional eating habits, the self-doubt, the overthinking, the fear of regaining, the feeling that you still aren't quite where you thought you'd be. And honestly, that's been one of the most surprising parts of this whole journey for me, because Mounjaro can help change your weight, but it doesn't automatically fix everything underneath the weight. And I think that's the part nobody really warns you about. So welcome back, I'm Man Does Midlife, and I've lost 76 pounds now taking Mounjaro. And this is my story. Every single Sunday I take a 10mg dose of Mounjaro and I inject that into my belly. This channel is all about highlighting the highs, the lows, and all the bits in between. It's not about celebrating my weight loss, it is about sharing what I've learned, it's about sharing my experiences in an open and honest way. Today's video isn't really about the weight loss itself, it's about what happens after the excitement starts to settle down, when you realise the emotional side of this journey doesn't always disappear at the same speed as the physical side. Because I think a lot of us are secretly thinking, once I lose weight, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to change. And sometimes that's not actually what can happen. And what we do in our head is we quietly build this fantasy. We talk about this imagined future version of ourselves, how we're going to look, how we're going to feel. When I lose weight, I'm finally going to be happy. I'm going to finally have the confidence I've always wanted. I'm going to feel attractive. I'm going to feel that freedom. And I'm going to, all the nice things that you hope are going to come with losing weight. What actually happens is you lose weight, you build this emotional finish line in your head, and you think when you get there, there's going to be party poppers, there's going to be balloons and fireworks and all the nice things when you cross the finish line. That isn't the reality of it. That isn't how it works, and that isn't what happens. Because you get the early successes, you start injecting the medication, and the first week you've lost £5, the second week you've lost £6, and you think, this is amazing, what a brilliant medication. Your clothes are fitting different, the compliments start happening, people start noticing, and they start saying, oh, you're looking well, you've lost weight, and all that kind of stuff. And then you get the physical changes, which happen really, really fast as well as part of these early successes. What happens underneath that is emotionally you still feel pretty much the same. You still start overthinking things. You still feel that insecurity at times, and you can still struggle mentally some days. From the outside, everything looks absolutely amazing, but on the inside, things aren't so quick to catch up. Mentally, your mindset doesn't catch up as quick as your body loses weight, is pretty much what I'm trying to say here. So it's almost like my body changed faster than my actual identity did. And with all this, there's a lot of fears and there's a lot of stuff that nobody really warned you about. One of the biggest fear for me has always been, and it's pretty much been since I started this weight loss journey, is a maintenance fear, because I don't know how I'm going to react, how I'm going to cope, how I'm going to manage without the medication doing what it does best, which is the appetite suppression and the food noise switched off. And I don't know how I'm going to cope with that. And I've mentioned it in a lot of the videos in the early days as well, where I'm talking about what am I going to do? What's my plan for maintenance? And I'm still not 100% decided on what my plan is. I have talked about it in the past and I still don't know. So that is, that's a huge worry. It's a huge issue as part of this, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. The other side of it, of course, is that fear of regaining weight. Now I understand when I move into maintenance, there is a likelihood I'm going to gain a bit of weight. And I know all the stats about
45% of people will regain all weight within 12 months.
I know all that, I get all that, and I get comments saying that as well. That is fine. That's not what I want. And I understand the medical reasons for that possibly happening. I get that, okay? The other side of it is becoming obsessed with the scales and constantly checking progress. That needs to be sort of curtailed. It needs to be talked about, because that happens a lot. Well, certainly for me, I was a daily weigher. I'm now down to weighing twice a week. I get comments with people saying I only weigh once a month, and I think that's absolutely amazing because I could not cope with that. I could not handle that in any way. And then there's the sort of real pressure of not messing this up, not spending all this money, and then not getting the results and not, losing the weight at the rate that you need to lose weight, or you feel like you should be losing weight. What it boils down to is that nobody can really warn you that losing weight can create new fears or new worries. So another one of the things that I think that Mounjaro can sometimes struggle dealing with is emotional eating, because as we know, emotional eating has never been about hunger, or certainly for me, it was never about hunger. It was eating from boredom, eating for comfort, eating when stressed, and routine. Now, for me, the routine side of it would be I would be sat in front of the TV in the evening and I wouldn't be hungry. Everything would be fine. I'd be eating probably way too many calories in the day anyway. This is all previous to my Mounjaro journey starting. And I would think, oh, I'm going to have something to eat. And that eating in the evening, sort of 9, 10 o'clock, became a habit. It wasn't because I was hungry. It was purely a habit because yesterday I had something to eat at 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. The day before I had something to eat 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks and months even. So straight away, my little head's going, it's 9, 10 o'clock, you need to have something to eat. And then I would go and raid the fridge or raid the cupboard and pretty much have probably another 1,000 calories. So it is really strange how the Mounjaro can reduce your appetite, but can sometimes struggle with your habits, and the emotions can still be there. They can still exist mentally, albeit for me, they're pretty much in check at this time. And I feel like I've broken those habits. I've broken the way of thinking that I was previously thinking. But it can feel very strange when the urge is more psychological rather than physical, and that can take a little bit of getting used to, because it's, you've got to remember the medication can quieten your hunger, but it can't completely rewrite your emotional patterns, the way you are as a person overnight. Shall we talk about identity lag? And it is something I went into sort of previously on the last video. And it's a tricky one. It's even at the stage I'm in, where I'm sort of 10, 11 months in now, just sort of fast approaching 12 months on this medication. And I sometimes don't see myself as the smaller version of me. I sometimes still see the bigger version of me. And my physical capabilities are somewhat limited sometimes by what's going on up here, because I see myself as the big man still, the larger man, the man with the wobbly bits and all that kind of stuff. It's going into a shop and buying clothes, which was never really there was never really a huge choice for the larger male, certainly not in the UK anyway. But now I can go into a shop and I can go through the racks of clothing and I can pick something and I know it's going to fit me. But I don't always realise that I'm able to do that. I sometimes will go into a shop thinking, well, they're not going to have anything for me, and then realise, hang on a minute, I'm not that person anymore. It takes some getting used to, and that identity lag part of it, the Mounjaro is not going to fix that. You need to take your time, be controlled, realise where you are, and realise that you're not that same person that you previously were, and you don't need to carry that old self-perception of yourself, because sometimes I feel like I still react like the old version of me when I'm walking around and when I'm doing stuff, and it takes some getting used to that isn't the case anymore. So quickly before we move on to the next section, I just want to say the one thing I've realised throughout this entire weight loss journey using medication is how important proper support has been for me. And that's why working with Bolt Pharmacy has mattered so much. I'm going to leave a link down in the description for Bolt Pharmacy. You will get a discount off your first order if you're in the US. There's also a discount voucher for Fella Health. Bolt Pharmacy have been absolutely fantastic. They've been so supportive, they've been so helpful. I've sent them messages and they pretty much get back to me the same day. Their deliveries, if they say they're going to deliver it on, say, Tuesday, it arrives on Tuesday. There's none of this messing around, none of it being delayed. I would highly recommend using Bolt Pharmacy. Obviously, you need to speak to your medical professionals. You need to do your research. I'm not telling you who to use. I'm just telling you who I use and how fantastic they've been for me. Don't forget, there'll be a link down in the description. So let's talk about reframing. This channel has always been about being honest, open, and telling you exactly how it is. There's never any fluffing up of anything here. If I'm feeling ill, if I've had bad side effects, if I've not lost weight, open and honest, it's always been there on the screen in front of you. Mounjaro has changed my life. 100%, no doubt at all. It has been the most effective weight loss program I've ever tried, and I have tried them all. But you've got to remember, it is just a tool. It's not a magic potion. You've got to do it alongside exercise. You've got to do it alongside increasing protein. You've got to do it alongside fiber and hydration. It's not going to do it for you. You're not going to inject it on a Tuesday, wake up on a Wednesday, 3 stone lighter. That is not how it works. It has changed my body shape, my body size, my weight massively. But the deeper part of this still belongs to me. You still need to sort out in your head how you move forward. You got to reframe yourself mentally. And again, I know this sounds so dramatic because there'll be people watching this going, I don't get it. You're just injecting a medication. You're losing weight. It's fantastic. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the background, in your head, that you need to reframe, and you need to get in that mindset of where you can deal with it, because it's not as simple, because the habits that have been formed over, let's say 40 years, shall we, they're still there under the surface, that are being masked by this medication. And if you don't change your mindset, things are never really going to change, and there's the potential to be on this medication forever and a day. Right, so if you've lost weight but you don't fully feel like the person you thought you'd become yet, I genuinely don't think you're failing. I think you're just a human being. And honestly, that's a big part of why I make these videos. Not just to talk about weight loss, but to talk about the parts people don't always say out loud. There's a lot of channels that will turn up on a Wednesday and say, yay, I've lost 3 pounds. And then the following Wednesday, yay, I've lost 2 pounds. There's stuff that needs to be talked about. There's stuff that needs to be discussed outside of the actual weight loss, of how it makes you feel, how it makes you feel mentally, the emotional side of it, the habit building side of it. So if this channel's helped you at all, or you've been following my journey, I'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel and becoming part of this weight loss community right here. And for those of you who support the channel through memberships as well, generally thank you. It really does help me keep making these honest videos every single week. If you can subscribe to the channel, if you can like this video, if you can hype this video, if you can put your notifications on. It does all kinds of crazy stuff in the basement in YouTube HQ, which does stuff to the algorithm, and that means these videos get out to more people, and I'm able to share my experience with more people, and that means more people will hopefully learn from my journey. Thank you ever so much for watching. In the meantime, I'll pop a few videos on the screen should you wish to follow a little bit more of my journey. And there's, I think there's over 200 videos there now, but you can follow my journey pretty much from the beginning all the way to where we are now. I will see you all on Saturday for a weekly update and a Q&A session. If you've got a question for Q&A, please pop it down below. Mark it Q&A, because I do have a nasty habit of just answering it on the comment screen now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all on Saturday.